can't approach a woman in a public place to say, "Excuse me, ma'am, you dropped this," without her turning around and screaming her head off and causing a scene, then we're staring down the road into a future where we no longer treat each other with common decency.
So I was tagged in this video where this man is upset that men are being discouraged from approaching random women in parking lots. Now, the video itself is a response to this video.
I'm literally shaking right now because I just had a man approach me in a parking lot.
Danielle is a lone female with a child. A man is 30 feet away and approaches her and says, "Hey ma'am." She does not want to be approached, and so she yells at him, "Do not approach me," and continues to yell at him until he goes away. The comments on her original video are pretty vile. Men calling her out for being crazy and hysterical. And Nate here seems to think that this modest act of impoliteness is going to be responsible for the downfall of civility. And what's frustrating about this is Nate actually runs headfirst into the point.
Genuinely seems shaken up by this, but my question is why? He's probably doing it in order to cause you harm.
And that should be where the video ends. A man is confused by a woman's behavior, he puts himself in her shoes, displays a little empathy and compassion, and suddenly we all grow and learn from the experience. The end. But sadly, we don't live in that world.
I'm not saying that stuff like that doesn't happen, but it doesn't happen often enough to warrant that kind of a reaction.
That's right, he doesn't feel it happens often enough for women's fear to be justified, which begs the obvious question of how much assault does he think needs to happen for women's fear to be justified? But that's on us, because as everyone knows, if you want to know how often violence against women is enacted, you don't ask a former cop, you ask a cop's wife. Look, this shouldn't need to be said, but it does not matter whether you feel the fear is justified or not. She was very clearly shaken up by the experience. The fear was very real to her. And it seems obvious that a single woman alone with a child, whether she should prioritize being polite or setting and establishing boundaries so that they are safe, a civilized society would say, be safe every time, forget about being polite. But even worse, Nate's real concern isn't actually civility.
A traditional man will want to pursue a woman face to face in a public setting. If you're a woman in the market for a man, you might want to open yourself up to the idea of meeting and talking to a man in these more public places like the grocery store or the gym if you want to find the type of man that you are looking for.
Nate's main concern is that if women stop allowing strange men to approach them in parking lots, how are middle-aged traditional men like him supposed to get laid? Now, forgetting that nobody asked, is there a more perfect example of the disconnect between women and the men who refuse to listen to them than a woman explaining she is fearful of being robbed, attacked, assaulted, kidnapped, or worse, and a man telling her that this is irrational and she should instead far more prioritize the fear of missing out on a husband like him? And look, I get it. Anybody who's watched Amelia's series on Why Are You Single knows why these men tend to avoid and struggle on dating apps. But it should be very obvious that if your dating strategy involves invalidating women's genuine fears so that you can justify why you should still be allowed to approach random women in parking lots so that you can hit on them, perhaps you're not the catch you think you are.